Hey everybody, it's Kat, and you're listening to Elemental Journey, the podcast that takes you on an exhilarating journey through the Avatar universe. Today we'll be talking about the element of water. The water tribe is divided into two factors, the north and the south, at each at the opposite ends of the poles, and is based roughly on the Arctic Society. The northern water tribe and the southern water tribe reside in chilling frozen regions as an abundance of with an abundance of water. The water tribe culture places a high value on empathy and family, which makes its relationship to waterbending particularly significant. Tai Chi is a beautiful flowing martial technique that is always in motion, and it serves as an inspiration for waterbenders in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Deep breathing and mental and physical mobilities are necessary for this kind of bending. A waterbender is a force to be reckoned with on the sea, since they can manipulate, freeze, unfreeze, and sharpen the water around them at different degrees. The moon teaches waterbenders to humans, since it regulates nature forced like the tides, which is why waterbenders are most powerful during a full moon. Waterbenders also have the ability to control the water molecules contained of plants, animals, even the air itself. Waterbenders, hence a particular dark subtype, given that water makes up 60% of the human body. Some with significant waterbending abilities may bend the blood in other people's bodies as well as their own by using the full moon. One of the four elemental bending arts is waterbending, which is the hydrokinesis, capable to manipulate water in all of its manifestus. This kind of bending is used by the water tribe members. The water tribes are further subdivided into the lesser known Foggy Swamp tribe, the northern water tribe, and the southern water tribe. Once again, wise words from Iroh: water is the element of change. The moon is the source of waterbending's powers, and the first waterbenders observed how the moon pushed and tucked the tides to learn the form of it. The only person that did not learn bending from an animal were the water tribes. The majority of waterbenders' fighting technique is fluent and elegant, interacting with their surroundings. Nevertheless, the Foggy Swamp style waterbending is more stiff and lenient, more likely due to the swamps, sometimes staggered water. Waterbenders manipulate the flow of energy that they use their defense to launch an offense that turns the power of their opponent against them. The origin of waterbending. The water tribe initially discovered waterbending by watching how the moon affected the ocean's tides. After that, they discovered how to replicate the effects on their own. Because of this, they have a deep spiritual bond with the moon and its opposite, the ocean. And anything bad that happens to these mediums can also have an impact on them. This means the only water benders are benders. This means that only waterbenders can bend who did not learn from an animal. Yet, since the spirit of the moon and the ocean assure animal form, like the two koi fish, they can be considered the original source of waterbending. The fighting style of waterbending. The Yang style of Tai Chi, a Chinese martial arts with graceful form and motion that mimics the flow of water. It's the foundation of waterbending. The power of waterbending lies in its defensive qualities. which are turned into attacks and counters. Defense turns into offense. Instead of a blistering a distance, sets an offense technique. So waterbending defenses moves centers on control, which is attempted by moving an opponent's own strength against him, as opposite to merely halting to deflect an assault. This is done without really hurting the opponent. Iroh says the element of change is water, experience with waterbending as vessels. Here are some waterbending abilities and techniques. So, breath of ice, creeping ice, flow as water, ice blades, ice claws, ice discs, ice hooks, ice lines, ice projectiles, ice walls and shields, ice spears, icicle spikes, quiet grip of ice, water rings, snowballs, steaming the water, water balls, water boxing, water bullets, water cloaks, water jabs, water jets, water knives, water manipulation, water pressure manipulation, water rings, water ropes, water walls, and water shields, and then the water whips and waves. Here are some waterbending master levels. Bubbles, ice covers, ice domes, ice drills, ice ladders, ice prisons, ice sleds, misstepping, octopus forms, razor wings, water cloaks, water domes and drills, water pinwheels, water slides, water sprouts, and water vortex, and water towers. Avatar level waterbending is remote waterbending, tsunamis, water compression. Some special techniques are armless waterbending, blood bending, body fluid manipulation, cloud bending or cloud manipulation, healing, plant bending, solutions, and then steam manipulation. Enhanced waterbending. Because waterbending is favored by the moon, it is amplified and increased at night. In particular, waterbending is substantial strength with a full moon, to the point where a single waterbender can easily defeat numerous opponents. Most people believe that bloodbending could only occur during a full moon. Moreover, during a solar eclipse. Waterbending skills are not improved. Like they wouldn't improve. The moon is directly in front of the sun during a solar eclipse. The far side of the moon receives all the sunlight, even if the moon itself shuts off sunlight. The full darkness on one side of the moon indicates that it is a new moon phase. The moon is always in a new moon stage when there is a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse does not increase a waterbending skill because a full moon amplifies or improves their waterbending abilities to several levels. Finally, when waterbenders get close to their native area, they will grow more powerful. Now, the opposite bending art of waterbending. Although it shares similarity with firebending in that it requires powerful, extensive force, breath control, and inner discipline, waterbending is the opposite of firebending as a bending technique, while waterbending utilizes motion, graceful twists, and spins to counterattack with water blasts. Firebending uses fast, powerful punches and kicks to shoot fire. Waterbenders wait and deflect their target strike, wherewith firebenders strike first. Waterbending is balanced out to be neither more nor less powerful than the other bending techniques. Just like all the other bending arts, they use abilities and strength affecting the outcome. However, when it comes to water bending, the quality of the water at hand has a big impact on a waterbender's capability to do all of their tricks. Avatar Roku, a native firebender, described mastering the all four elements as bitter work, and described learning waterbending as especially challenging. Roku preferred firebending, earthbending, and airbending above waterbending, even in combat scenarios. In fact, he refused to employ waterbending to battle a volcano that was encircled by water. When Iroh created lightning redirection, a method of shielding people from lightning, he did so with the waterbending psychology in mind. The move was taught to Zuko, and both of them have been seen employing in successfully against fermented adversaries. Later on, Aang learned from Zuko and was also able to apply this method. Both firebending and waterbending are opposite bending skills, but they are both capable of manipulating external thermal energy. Therefore, if the bender loses their cool, waterbending and firebending can both have a various effect on the surroundings. This was demonstrated by Katara breaking ice while yelling at Sokka, and by Zuko during a heated argument with Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee. Weapons of waterbending. To date, the only instance in which a weapon has been utilized in connection with waterbending is when Aang uses his staff to freeze water in the Earth King episode, and when Avatar Kyoshi uses her fans to create a wave in the Avatar Day. It has also been said that Kadon or cone swords, which would be the idolized weapon for a waterbender due to its nearly samurai-like cutting skill. When they are in dry environments like the desert, waterbending does, however, transport water in water skins. The amount of water carried by the skins varies according to the size. Now, the style of waterbending. 3 waterbending styles are the Northern style, the Southern style, and the Foggy Swamp style, are known to exist in the Avatar universe. The war's condition have rendered the Southern style essentially extinct. It is unclear how much Hama taught Katara before they turned into enemies, but she was the only remaining Southern Water Tribe waterbender in Aang's era to have received full training in the Southern style. Although the Foggy Swamp Tribe is a branch of the Southern Water Tribe, the Foggy Swamp style may have originated from the Southern style. It has since developed into a unique look throughout the decades. Now, Northern and Southern style. For urges in their abundant near the North Pole, the Northern Water Tribe created the first form of waterbending. The Southern Water Tribe created a somewhat different style, but it still is extremely similar to the Northern style when they established it in the South Pole. The Northern and Southern Water Tribe traditional waterbending techniques empathize flowing, beautiful motions for their strikes. Often these techniques include changing the conditions of water from liquid to ice and snow. The waterbenders constructed their extensive Arctic settlements using these methods. While Southern waterbenders appear to have more active in battle and appear to have more employed more attacking techniques. I'm so sorry. Northern waterbenders appear to have Historical employed more defense strategies in their skill of waterbending. Last but not least, the Foggy Swamp style. So the Earth Kingdom's Foggy Swamp tribe uses Foggy Swamp style of waterbending. Their stiff and straight stance, perhaps reflecting the general state of the water in their mushy homeland. Contrast with the fluid, graceful movements of the other two waterbending forms, they use stiff and circular arm motions to spin water like a propeller. The tribe's boat appears to move quite well with the style. Maybe since there isn't as much ice in their surroundings, they don't seem to use ice or snow assaults as frequently as their polar counterparts do. Even though the Day of the Black Sun Part 1, the evasion shows one of the members converting water into ice. One of the swamp tribemen converts the flow of water into ice to stop it as a lance went through the submarine halt and water began to pour out. Hugh, one of the swamp tribemen, was able to create plant bending, a talent that he alone was able to use. Through Haman didn't seem surprised to learn about it. It is unlikely that other polar waterbenders are aware of this method, as she prefers to drain plants of the water instead of controlling them. Because as we've seen in the one episode, instead of controlling the plants, she showed Katara how to pull the water out of the plants. And the other swamp waterbenders use their distinctive fighting style in The Day of the Black Sun Part 1, The Evasion, to protect themselves from harm by stepping and using a graceful punching motion, although with noticeable feet work, suggests that this style's fighting power is accurate. Healing. Waterbenders occasionally employ a special sub-skill that's capable to mend injuries and rerouting chi or energy paths throughout the body. So typically only female waters from the Northern Water Tribe are trained in using this therapeutic waterbending technique. Like we seen when Aang and Katara went to the Northern Water Tribe, and Master Pakku was like, I'll teach Aang waterbending, but the females here only learn healing and they don't use their waterbending to fight. Now on to the weaknesses of waterbending. Extensional water source depends on the availability of water nearby. A waterbender may have a considerable edge over other benders, but this gives the enemies the opportunity to drive them away from their water supply. Because of this, waterbenders who travel frequently always have a water skin on them. Skilled waterbenders can draw water from plants, which kill the plants in the process, and even condense water vapor out of the air. Naturally, neither the form nor the latter can produce significant amounts of water, especially when it comes to water vapor, utilizing which is depending on the weather. It is also unknown if waterbenders can draw water from a human or an animal in the same way that they can with the plants. Possibly because this idea is a little unsettling and disturbing. The things that happen in the Puppet Master episode suggest that this is possible, even though the talent would probably be hard as bloodbending. Furthermore, the morals fallout would probably have a negative emotion impact on the user, maybe to point where it would be impossible for them to apply that technique at all. Binding. Unlike earthbenders, which primarily primarily use their lower body, water bending depends almost exclusively on the bender's arm motions or movements. When the waterbender's chi flows, it obstructs in their arms, and they are also chained at the hands. So waterbenders need their hands to be able to waterbend. They need motion, movement. Like I said, unlike the earthbenders who primarily use their lower body. They also do use their arms, but it's primarily their lower body. There have only really been a few occurrence in the series where Katara has used her lower body to conduct waterbending, such as when she used a chunk of ice as a surfboard to battle a ginormous sea serpent, or which she anchored her feet in ice during her battle with Master Pakku. The waterbending scroll that Katara took contained instructions for another lower body movement that Aang and her both learned, the water whip. In the Earth King episode, Katara utilized her feet to execute a more powerful water whip during her battle with the Earthbender guards in the royal palace. In order to highlight the waterbender's powerlessness, Human briefly described to Katara in The Puppet Master how the Fire Nation jail ground chained their arms each time they were given a drink of water or water to drink. Next is the lunar eclipse. So waterbending relies on the moon is yet another flaw. The moon gives waterbender powers, which reaches its peak during the full moon. However, when the moon is absent during an eclipse, waterbenders are completely powerless, as demonstrated in The Sage of the North, Part 2. If a moon eclipse occurs naturally, the outcome can be different. An emotional state. The chi, or the inner life force, is the source of a waterbender's power, such as the waterbender current emotion state is linked to their power. An unskilled waterbending force increases when they lose their rage, but they also lose control. Katara proved this twice, with the first instant, ironically, acting as the series when she got angry at Sokka and the iceberg chipped off, and here came Aang. But this can also be very dangerous, but it can also be very helpful for someone who knows how to control their emotions and has the necessary training and experience. Waterbenders overcoming their weaknesses. Experienced waterbenders participants can overcome certain common shortcomings in waterbending. A master can extend water vapor from clouds, the atmosphere, and even living things like trees and plants in dry regions. The disadvantage is that a living thing will wilter and perish if the water supply is cut off. If necessary, a master's own body can provide water through saliva or sweat, depending on the weather. Different amounts of water can be extracted from the air, even in the best of circumstances. These levels would be extremely limited because water only makes up a molecule percentage of plants' atmosphere. Water can, however, be enough to make a weapon that can be used like ice claws, which don't require a lot of water to form. The waterbending element symbol. So the symbol for water and waterbending is a circle compressed of a styled rightwards facing ocean wave, which the three spiral crests break over the three waves, diagonal lines representing water. It's also shown how the moon and the ocean spirit work together. The symbol is featured in connection with the Northern Water Tribe spiritual and on a pendant worn by Katara, originally carved by Master Paku for her grandma, as we all know as Gran, as an engagement present. Spirituality and waterbending. The legend says that the moon was the first waterbender. Our ancestors saw how it pushed and pulled the tides and learned how to do it themselves. Our strength comes from the spirit of the moon, and our life comes from the spirit of the ocean. They work together to keep balance. That was a quote by Princess Yue. So waterbenders use their chi to manipulate water in a manner similar to how the moon controls tides. They do this by deciding where to focus their energy through the use of their two jinns, which then push and pull the water under their control. A waterbender's power is greater at night or its highest point during a full moon, as I've already explained, and demonstrate it during a lunar eclipse due to this lunar sympathy. For obvious reasons, a waterbender's power is also increased in the rain. Moreover, a waterbender's power is at its peak in colder regions during the winter or in close proximity to their polar homelands. So according to the further legend, the ocean spirit La means pull, and the moon spirit Twa means push. They gave up their immortality in order to join the mortal world. As we see in the paradise in the Northern Water Tribe capital, these spirits take a physical shape of two koi fish that circle each other in the pond. When Avatar Aang then assumes the role of a true avatar of La and joins forces to form a massive water beast that swept the Fire Nation soldiers out to sea, ultimately defeating the Fire Nation invasion fleet. When Princess Yue, who had been given a portion of Twa's life energy at birth in order to keep her from dying right away, she gave that force back and gave her life in order for Twu to survive the balance, and the balance was restored. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Elemental Journey. If so, please rate, review, and respond to the question and the poll. Also, don't forget to hit that follow button so you never miss another episode. You can also find all my socials on my Linktree at Linktree/Avaverse Elemental Journey. AVAVERSE Elemental Journey. Feel free to share this podcast with all your Avatar crazed friends. Until next time.